Hey everyone, welcome back to Rob's Funk and Junk podcast, episode 24. How are you all out there today? God, my beard is looking, I can see myself in my camera. Move the old mic a little bit closer there. How's life? What's going on? Thanks to all who listened last week to my last episode, where I was in a bit of a funky mood. Not funky in the good way, funky in the bad way, but I'm all right now. Everything's okay. Just adjust my level here a bit. 1 2 1 2. What's been happening? I've got a new guitar. Look at that bad boy. Bit of a surprise. I picked this up yesterday, completely out of the blue. I just went in to see my mate Tony at my local music shop, Music Street, here in the UK, and I kind of just pop in there every now and then to hang out and be around guitars and amps and pedals and stuff like that. And yeah, it's right near the supermarket, so it's great. I can go and whenever I have to go and do some shopping, I just nip in there and get some guitar, soak up some guitar smells and stuff like that. It's a great little store he's got, actually. But yeah, this one was. I noticed that he started to stock these Patrick. What are they called? Patrick James Eggle. So Patrick Eggle's been around for ages, and he's been stocking these guitars. I have noticed them on the wall, and he just said, "Oh, try this one." I just said, "Oh, these look really nice." He said, "Give this a try," and I picked it up, and this is the lightest Telecaster I've ever held. It is, actually, there was a post about it. He did a post. Patrick James Eggle did a post about this guitar. Let me have a quick look on my old Facebook page on my phone. Excuse me. Talk amongst yourselves. Where is it? Oh, there it is. So this guitar weighs 6 pounds 3 ounces. The rundown of this. So if anyone can't see, obviously, if you're listening to the podcast, this is a Patrick James Eggle Telecaster. Okay. Now, I've got a couple of tellies here. One of them's actually borrowed from Tony, my mate Tony, anyway. And it is... what is this? It's got it's a two-piece Swamp Ash body. Super light, two-tone sunburst. What's it called? An OZT Relic. So it's a Telecaster type guitar. The body is two-piece Swamp Ash. The neck is dark roasted maple with a soft V profile. So if you can see this, you can't see it. Oh shit! Look at that. Amazing. It's got a nice little sort of the figuring in the maple, but it's roasted. It's the first time I've ever had a roasted maple neck. Fretboards are, the fretboard is a 12-inch radius rosewood. Pickups are Mojo pickups, Tele single coils. The bridge is a Goto BST. I have no idea, but it's a traditional sort of Tele style bridge. Goto tuners, pick guards, one-ply parchment. Has it still got the tape on it? Has it got tape on it? I don't know. That's me. I don't get new guitars very often. Has that got tape on it? I can't see. It won't have for very long. Finish is heat-aged nitrocellulose, and it weighs 6 pounds 3 ounces. So it's really, really light, really light. But the thing that got me the most about it was, check this out, right? E chord, middle pickup. Listen to how resonant that is. Now that is just the guitar going through a Princeton reverb. Still ringing. How incredible is that? That is absolutely nuts. However he's done that, is a genius. He's an absolute genius. I mean, listen. As they say, you could go for a bite. As the immortal words of Nigel Tufnell, you can go for a bite and that will still be ringing. Check this. So that's just a clean amp. I mean, that's incredible. So, yeah, I traded it for something yesterday. I don't normally do things like that. I don't go in and I'm not a guitar hungry type of guy. But this was a bit special. And it has the old neck wobble, so you can kind of wobble the neck, and it gives you that. I remember a post reading something from Josh Smith, who's if you don't, I mean, you will know who Josh Smith is. He's an incredible guitar player. But I remember reading something from Josh Smith talking about why do people wobble their guitar neck so much? It gets on his nerves. But I think it seemed to bother him. But I love it. I've been doing it for years. I've always done it. Kind of love that sort of. It's almost like a self-chorusing thing. Yeah. But this is a pretty special guitar. Lucky me, huh? Yeah, I was. I came home. As you can see, my studio is turned into a makeshift kitchen. If you see behind me here, if you're not, for those listening at home on the actual podcast and not looking at it on YouTube, I've got a load of the kitchen. Our kitchen's been done. We're getting a new kitchen in the house. So the work started yesterday, so it's fucking manic here. Dust everywhere, and we're living in 2 rooms downstairs now. It's going to be about a month of this. So there is actually, in that pot right over there, there's a lovely soup cooking at the moment. Ray's making a nice soup for myself and the chaps that work in here. Nice vegetable soup, smells amazing. But we've got all the doors open, and it is a little bit chilly today, but the sun is out and it looks really nice and bright, and it's all good. The week started well. I had a nice little gig in Madrid last week. It was great fun, although really tiring. Lots of sort of very early airport run, and then the next day, sort of a 4 a.m. get up. By the time I get to sleep, which is about midnight, you get 4 hours sleep. You're up, airport, all day travelling, do the gig, finish. I think we got back at 3 a.m. Up again at so a pick up at the hotel at 5:30 in the morning, and then travelling home. And because it was Friday, I landed about 12. I didn't get home till about 4 from Heathrow because of all that shit, Friday traffic. But it's been good. It's been good. How is everyone out there? Thank you so much to everyone. I mean, it's a bit weird because I'm doing this now on YouTube as well. I think people are sort of tuning in to YouTube, and I did have someone, well, I'll read the email in a minute, but basically saying it's quite good because they can watch it on YouTube. And also they can listen to it and catch up both. I tend to do that. I listen to a lot of stuff, a lot of podcasts on YouTube these days, because then I can watch it if there's someone playing something, or I can sort of tune in to that and see what they're playing, and sort of reverse to sort of pick up on what they're doing. Otherwise, I'm listening in the car when I'm on my way to a gig. But yeah, it seems to be that people are liking the video content. I'm looking to get a nice neon sign. I want to get a Rob's Funk and Junk neon sign behind me where those blinds are, either hanging down or at the side wall here. I'm just filming this on my my laptop camera at the moment, and it seems to be working out okay. What else is happening? I've got a new disc at the back. If you see that, over this shoulder, over my right shoulder, I got a new disc sent to me, which is very rare. You don't get them these days. That came in for the LF System Afraid to Feel track, which I did last year. Yeah, they don't really send them out anymore very often, so it was nice to receive that through. What else has been happening? Yeah, so I wanted to talk about how important music shops are. Your local music shop. I spend a lot of time in my music shop. I've always sort of gravitated to certain shops, and how important it is when you're a young guitar player, or any guitar player, when you're just starting out, to be able to go to a shop and just have a look and hang out. When I was young, there was a couple that I used to go to. One was a shop called the Drum and Guitar Centre in Cambridge, which was great, and I met some amazing players there, and I just sort of go down there on a Saturday morning and just hang out, never having any money to buy anything, but they would always just sort of let you hang out and chat and talk guitar and talk about what the new, what you're listening to. I mean, nowadays it's very different because everyone's doing it on Instagram, and everyone can share things a lot easier. But back in those days, it was all very much what you're listening to. People sharing tapes and vinyl. But you get to try out guitars and learn about amps and pedals and different instruments, different styles of guitar, Strats and Gibsons, and that's where I got all my pretty much all of my knowledge about guitars from, is just hanging out in music shops and talking to other guitar players. And I think that's really important, that a guitar shop, that those communities are still there. I know there's a lot of people who sort of sell stuff online nowadays, and there's people buying guitars online, and I get that, but I do think that opportunity for young players or people just starting out to go and just sort of dip their toe into that environment for a bit, that's the point of it. That's the fucking point. Hanging out, talking about guitars. It's our version of going to a football match, I guess. I mean, I never was into football, but it is our version of that. So having an environment, I know that, you can't just hang out in there all day and take all the guitars off the wall and try them out and get your grubby little sweaty fingers on them. That's not cool either. But for me, and I know that for my sort of friends, having that environment to go to is really important. So I was talking to my friend Tony, who runs Music Street, where I got this yesterday. He popped in last night, and he picked up a guitar because I traded the guitar in. Having the relationship, or building a relationship with a guitar store is really important. Being able to go in, ask questions, hang out, think of them, you sort of get to know them. They're your friends. These are, Tony's my friend. I've known him since he was a kid, because I used to give him guitar lessons. He then went on. So basically, one of the stores that we all frequented when we were growing up, myself and my guitar playing friends, Booger, for example, as well. In fact, I met Booger in a guitar shop. Booger, who was on this podcast a few months back, that's where I met him, in a guitar shop. You know, we become lifelong friends after that, you know. But we all used to frequent a shop called Machine Head Music. I don't know if anyone out there remembers Machine Head, but it was run by a lovely man called Jeff. Well, he was lovely. He was lovely, but also hilariously grumpy sometimes. But Jeff, sadly, he's no longer with us. He passed away about, I can't remember, 8 years ago. An absolute diamond geezer. Everyone knew him. Everyone loved him, even when he was grumpy, and he was quite often very grumpy. But he was hilarious. But he used to call me Tweed. Not obviously, my name's Harris, so Harris Tweed. So that was my nickname, was Tweed. So every time I'd call up or pop in, he was like, "Oh, all right, Tweed," and he was just amazing. In fact, there's some videos. He sort of moved on from having Machine Head, and then he had a shop called World Guitars in the UK, and I did some videos in this store, some sort of guitar demo videos for him, and interviews with him. Very early days of guitar shops doing YouTube stuff. It was like, I think it was just a new thing. People were starting to do it, and I know for a fact that he hated being on camera, and but I absolutely adored that man, and we all did actually. Every time, sometimes a tear does come to our eyes when we talk about him, but he was an absolute diamond, and he used to be so grumpy. When people used to come in the store, I'd be there having a coffee with him, and he'd be like, "Oh, fucking hell. Yes, what do you want?" And it was kind of almost like his shtick. People sort of knew that that's what they were going to get from him. But he was hilarious. I used to sort of, when I was young, he was always lending me gear. So if I ever needed a guitar for a session, so one instance was, Jeff, I need can I try out a Les Paul? I've got something I need to do. I've got to do some recording. I need a Les Paul. He went, just pick one, take it. So I'd just take, I'd just get one off the wall. The one in case, the point in case, I took a Tokai. I tried a couple of Gibsons, and actually there was a Tokai there, a copy, and that to me was better than the actual Gibsons. So I took it, did the session, and then it's then my guitar. So he always used to have a little ledger book that he used to write down what we owed him, and my friends, we'd always sort of be buying stuff or taking stuff before we could afford it, and then we would owe him the money. And I remember, he used to call me up and he'd be like, "Tweed, there's something. I woke up this morning. There's something wrong." I was like, "What's up, Jeff? What's the matter?" He said, "I've had a look in my book, and you don't owe me any money. When are you going to fucking come in and take something away and owe me some money? I don't like it when you don't owe me money." But he was so sweet. There was nothing he wouldn't do for you. And that's what I think is really important. Sorry, my dog's snoring down here. Joni's snoring. That's really important. And that's, it's not so you can go in and take the piss with the shop and get loads of stuff for free. That's not the point. It's the fact that you can have a relationship, and they'll help you out and they'll advise you on what gear to get, and you can advise them on what gear, as a guitar player, have you thought about stocking these? And I know that's not going to be the same for every guitar store. Sometimes that would really get on people's nerves, because they do get a lot of tire kickers in there. But it's a great place. It's like a little pub, having a guitar shop with a coffee thing in there. people just stand around chatting about guitars, what they're listening to, and man, that was my Saturday. That was my Saturday. Didn't play football, didn't go down the pub. I used to just hang out in guitar shops. So my good friend Tony Rawson he used to work for Jeff, and he was, I believe, one of the sort of early pioneers of getting the website for the shop together. He was really good at that, or he is really good at that. So you could buy guitars online. So I know a lot of guitar sales now are people buying them online. Hang on a minute, my screen's going to turn off. 1 second. Don't turn off. So yeah, he had that down, and that sort of opened up business for people buying uber expensive guitars and then having them shipped around the world. So Tony kind of did that very early on. And he does that now with his own store, Music Street. So I'm going to get him on here. He's an amazing friend of mine, Tony, and same thing. We've got the same ethos. It's like, because quite often a session will come in where I'll need a certain instrument. So one happened the other day where I needed I was after a Mustang bass. So I went in there. Can I try out that Mustang bass? I take it away, and then we sort out the payment later. And I know, I'm not saying that everyone should try and do that with their shops, but that's the relationship I have. They know me as the guitar relicer, because literally as soon as I get a guitar, I put a dent in it. I mean, I did it just then. Probably just did it then. I'm really bad. If you're ever going to lend me a guitar, it's gonna come back with a few nicks and dents in it. I bought one. I did get one. I needed a Music Man bass, and for a certain session I was doing, because that's a specific sound, and I needed the Music Man bass. So I called them up. Have you got any Music Man basses in? Yep, got a few. And they had the top of the range ones, and they also had some of the budget models. Now, I don't, for the amount of time I used it, I don't necessarily need the top of the range one. I just need it to sound like a Music Man. I'm not out gigging it or touring with it. I'm not a bass player, I'm a guitar player, but I do actually do quite a lot of bass sessions. So I went and tried this bass, plugged it in, boom, 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 played a few notes. This will do. I'll take it. And I literally put it down, leant it against an amp, and immediately put a chink in it. Just because as soon as the guitar touches my hands, it gets some kind of chink in it. That's why this one is already relicked. I didn't do that. This is already like this. But the finish on it is amazing. You can't see this. You're listening at home. You can't see it, but it is. It's like a two-tone sunburst relic telly. Oh man, it's so light. But yeah, so that was yesterday, and I brought the guitar home. Told Ray that I'd got a new guitar. She looked at me with a bit of dismay until she realised I was just trading it in. But yeah, it is an incredible instrument. Just amazing, isn't that? I can't play at the moment because I've got all the windows and doors open because of the dust, but my hands are freezing. So yeah, I'm not working. My hands aren't working. Brilliant. What else have I been doing this week? So I go through this every now and then. I really got. I'm kind of thinking about wanting to mic up my amps a lot more in the studio. Whilst it's all great using the digital stuff, I've got I do have a Grossman speaker ISO box back there that I haven't used it for some time, so I'm going to get that up and running and give that another go, and use my preamps, my APIs or my Neve preamps, and have a couple of mics in there. They're already mics in there. I've got an SM57 and a Royer, and then just have that hardwired into my my interface through the mic pre's. But you know, I just have this thing all the time. Well, actually, no, it comes and goes, where I kind of feel like I'm not quite getting the best out of my amps by not having the designated speakers mic'd up, and I just don't have the space to have that, you know. Or I could do a tie line to I've got a massive shed out there. I could make some space out there and buy a designated sort of amp booth to have cabs in there like Marshall and a deluxe style cab there's I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's a great guitar player called Jerry McPherson, a Nashville guy, who's got this amazing contraption, amazing room where he has, it's on I think it's called a True Tone Talks on, it's like an interview with him on YouTube. Check it out if you can. But he's got this room, he's got all of his amps next to him in his control room, you know, a Deluxe, a Vox, a Custom Audio Electronics, and a Marshall and everything. It's got it all there, matchless. And then in the next room, and he said that he had his friend over, and they basically plugged all of those amps into one cabinet. And, you know, they sort of A-B'd them all through the same cab, which was mic'd up in the next room. And he said that basically the amps all ended up sounding kind of similar to each other. They didn't change in tone that much. So he figured out that the only way to do it was to have the actual designated cab for each amp. So, you know, if he's got a Marshall, he's got a Marshall 4x12. If he's got a deluxe head, he's using a deluxe amp, he's got a deluxe style cabinet there. If he's got the matchless, he's got a matchless cab. If he's got the Vox, he's got the Vox cab. And what he did was he set all of these speakers up in a circle. And in the middle, he had like this little robot arm that has, there's a plane flying over, sorry. There's a little robot arm with two or three microphones attached to it. And when he changes amps, he can literally, the robot arm swivels round to the designated speaker. He can he's got a remote control in his room, and it swivels round to the designated speaker. Now that would be my idea of guitar recording heaven. I would absolutely love that. But that means he's got a room that he, you know, is obviously, he can make enough noise in without pissing off his neighbours, and I don't have that. So I am always contemplating getting another building outside. I know you can buy these sort of soundproof rooms, but they're really expensive. I mean, I think they're about $3-4 grand. I don't know. If anyone knows of anything out there that seriously can do that, I know there are like vocal booths that you can do it in, but I just worry that they're going to be too boxy. Tim Pierce, actually, I know he's got an amazing sort of rooms underneath his garage where he works. He did send me over some pictures of it at some point a long time ago. Not that him and he doesn't know me. I met him once or twice, and he seemed really lovely. But yeah, he sent over some pictures because he's got it sorted out. I think he's got 2 or 3 cabs in there, and I do think there's a difference. I definitely think there's a difference. As much as I kid myself that using the aux box works, it does kind of work for a lot of the sessions I'm doing, but because I need to be really quick, and you can change between the cabs in the aux box. I always keep coming back to this thing every couple of months of I need a booth with that in, so I can switch between cabs. Excuse me 1 second. I'm just going to stir the soup that's cooking back here. I'm not going to stop the video. I'm coming back. Hang on 1 second. I'm not going anywhere. Oh, that soup smells amazing. Hang on a minute. Oh, wow. 1 second. There you go. Cooking and guitar. Yeah. So, have I had any emails today? Let me have a quick look. Look at the old Funk and Junk email bin. Oh, there's a couple of invoices that have come up there. Nice. Great. What have I got? Rob's Funk and Junk email inbox. Oh yeah, I did have one from my good friend John Stathopoulos. How you doing, John? I can always rely on John to send me a lovely email. He says, "Hey Rob, what an idea it was to film while making your podcast. I find myself starting with the audio, then missing the video and turning to YouTube. Then while driving, I will turn back to the podcast again. I enjoy your casts." Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, people seem to be listening, but I don't know. What have I got? Anyway, just wanted to point out that we come. What a junk. Oh yeah, so the Funk and Junk bit. Okay, that's cool. This is the bit where I'm sort of going, what's good and what's bad. Funk is a good thing, junk is a bad thing for the week. Just wanted to point out what a junk has come after Josh Scott's video on the mediocre bad monkey pedal. He wanted to show the shut up and play your guitar mentality, and everyone started raising the price on a pedal that used to be a doorstop for years. What a strange group of minds, us guitarists. Abso-fucking-lutely. Man, do you know what? Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, someone starts talking about a pedal and says someone of note says the pedal is a good pedal. And then before you know it, everyone wants to go and buy it, and the price has rocketed up. And I did see his post. He was like, look, you know, this was actually supposed to be for you to really sort of just enjoy what you've already got, you know. I'm sure he didn't do this to try and drive up the price of a pedal. And he said, what happened to all the people who had that pedal for 20 years and didn't like it, you know. Man, listen with your ears, not your eyes. You know, what feels good to you works. It doesn't matter if it's a can of baked beans and it sounds good to you, that's what you like. You know, everyone's different. You're never going to get what you want if you're just buying it just because someone else says that's the one to have. You know, I've had loads of things where I've got them and I've tried them out and it's been the thing. Everyone's been using it, and I just don't get on with it. I don't really get on with tube screamers. I had one. I had a TS10 and a TS808. Didn't like either of them. I used them because I thought I should be using them, but I didn't really get on with them. That's why I ended up with the Nobles. The Nobles ODR1. I saw ages ago a video with, I think it was John Shanks, and he was using one on his board, and it sounded great when he switched it on. I was like, that's the kind of sound I need. And then I saw Tom Bukovac, and then I found out that Tom Bukovac had basically tipped off John Shanks about using this pedal. That's why John Shanks had one. So I went, luckily, and bought one. I found one on eBay, and I got it for like 50 quid or 60 quid. And it was an old one, and it became my favourite drive pedal just because that's what I liked. And that's the one I always go back to, you know, when I want to drive. That's kind of what I want, or something that kind of does that thing, but nothing does it like that one does. I've got the Vemurrum Shanks ODS one on my board at the moment, and that's really good as well. But it's not the same as a Nobles. It kind of does that thing, and it's just what you like. But yeah, there's no point in chasing after stuff just because. Oh man, well you can do what you like. Do what you like. If you want to piss away your money on a pedal that is, 1 week it was $30 and the next week it's $600 because someone said it sounds a little bit like a Klon. That's the other thing. I had a Klon. I had one of the new Klons. Um, a mate of mine, Matt Pryor, a great friend of mine, guitar playing friend of mine, amazing player. He lent me his Klon. He's got an old Klon, and I went and bought the new red ones. I don't know what model it was. I went and bought it because I thought, let me try it to see, because I'll always give it a try. Didn't like either of them. Just wasn't for me. Sold it. Um, just didn't do the job that I needed it to do, because it needs to be used in a certain way, and I don't work in that way. I think something like a Klon, how that's supposed to be used, or the players that I know of that use it, they use it in a not almost a non-overdrive way. I think the level is up high and the gain is down really low, and it helps the front end of the amp. It's like a preamp for the front of the amp. Please forgive me if I'm wrong, but using it as an overdrive for what it was supposed to be used as, I think they sound pretty bad. But that's just me. Everyone likes what they like. But yeah, that is quite funny. Yeah, I totally hear you. The bad monkey thing, I've seen it. I do. It's amazing the power of the internet. How it can drive up something. I like the fact that John Mayer, when he tries out a pedal, if he's trying it out, he covers it in black tape so no one can see what it is. So it doesn't drive up the price of the pedal unnecessarily just because he uses it. They're fun. Pedals are fun, but I do know that you don't need as many as you think you do. I do know that I don't need as many as I think I do. I've got a cupboard back there. That cupboard there is full of pedals that I don't use. I've got so many that just sit there. I'm not using them. Kind of, yeah, compressors, all kinds of shit I've got in there. But you can do it with a lot less than you think you can. Or I think I can. Anyway, I'm not telling anyone what they can and can't do. Then John says, the total funk lately has been trying to listen to music as a fan and not as a musician, analysing everything. So after all this, a question. Have you ever worked on a soundtrack? Would you think it would be a total blast? I have done a few things on soundtracks. The last one I did... No, actually not the last. I worked with a composer called Lorne Balfe, who is weird. He's not weird. He's lovely, but I never met him. I used to just get emails saying, are you available for a session to record remotely? So I always say yes, absolutely. The first one I got, I didn't know who he was. I just got an email out of the blue. Hi, Rob, are you available this week to do some recording? Yep. And it was just Lorne Balfe. So I Googled his name. It turns out he's a movie composer. He'd worked on things like... he was sort of involved with Hans Zimmer for a while. So I did this thing, did the session, and then they sent over the parts that they needed me to do. I recorded them and sent them off with no idea what it was for. So then... with all these things, you never know. The only way you know... I didn't get an email back saying that's great. I just got an email saying, send your invoice here. So I did. Then a couple of months later, I get another one. Can you do this? And I think some of them were like for computer games. I think he composed for computer games. I'm not sure. I got one that was... it was for Volvo. It just said Volvo on it. So I recorded the guitar parts. There was an acoustic part and some electric things I did, all at home. And then a couple of years later, I spoke to a mate of mine, and he a drummer, Ash Sohn. We talk every now and then. He's an amazing drummer. And he said, oh, did you do that Volvo thing for Lorne? I was like, yeah. He went, that ended up being the theme tune to the World Cup that Hans Zimmer did. I was like, really? So I was on the theme tune music to World Cup, not the last one, the one before. I'd even watched it and didn't even know it was me. And then another one that happened with Lorne was I was sitting there on a Friday night or a Saturday night, and I get the message saying, "Can you record tonight?" I was literally sitting in my pajamas with my wife and my kids. We were sitting there watching the TV, and I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, I'm free." And this is when I was living in a log cabin after my divorce. Well, she wasn't my wife at the time. I was in a log cabin, and it was hang on, back home, and oh, what was that? And it was, can you play on this thing for Lego Batman? So they just had it was a piece of music for the Lego Batman movie that Lorne was doing. Sent over the things, and basically they just had Chad Smith playing drums on the track that day, and they needed more guitars to bolster it up. So they sent it over. I literally was recording half an hour later, sat in my pajamas doing some heavy guitars on this thing for Lego Batman. I think it was out. I think the film came out about 3 weeks later, and it was on that. So yeah, I really enjoy that kind of stuff. I love film music. So yeah, I have done a bit of that. And then I've done some weird stuff since. Lorne does very sort of industrial sounding stuff. He did I think it was called Six Underground. I played on that. But you never know. Sometimes you do these things and they don't use them. And I think the last thing I did for him, he wanted me to do loads of recordings of feedback in different keys. So I had to do like 3 minutes of feedback in different keys, which was quite a challenge. That was a day of just, I think my brain fried after that. It's fucking crazy. And then another one I did was just loads of tremolo effects in different tones, tremolos at different tempos. Just so I guess that you can use them in samples, because he does all these kind of, or he had done a lot of these action films. So, yeah, I love that kind of work. But thanks, John, for your question. I can always rely on John Stathopoulos for a great question. This is a long one today. I've been prattling on for 43 minutes. I am going to call it a day. I am going to get on some work. I'm going to go to the gym. But please drop in your questions or anything you want to robsfunkandjunk@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, everyone. It really means a lot. Anyone tuning in really means a lot. And thanks for listening. And I hope you have a great week. And I will see you next week. Take care all. Bye.